Welcome to Newcastle upon Tyne 2002, with the new Millennium Bridge spanning the Tyne and the Tyne back to the famous Old Tyne Bridge. Now cast your minds back to 1927, when the new bridge, as it was then, was under construction. The Paramount Cinema, now the Odeon in Pilgrim Street, was showing The Fire Brigade, the very latest silent picture from Hollywood. And Newcastle and District ACA had just finished their first story film, The Regeneration of Reggie, about a naive young man who finally makes good, and they showed it in their premises in Bolbeck Hall. And that proved to be the start of a long and successful...
What are you doing, mister? Is it for the telly?
No, it's not for the telly. No, I'm just setting the scene for a history of Newcastle ACA. I don't mind if you stand and watch, but can you please not interrupt, okay?
What's the ACA?
Well, to give it its long title, it's the Newcastle and District Amateur Cinematographers Association, which is a little bit difficult to understand, isn't it? It's a club. Yes, it's a club for anybody who likes making their own movies.
Anyone? Or just old deadbeats like you?
Well, I'm not sure I appreciate that description, but yes, anyone can join.
Could I do it?
You? Well, yes, I suppose. Well, yes, of course you could. In fact, the earlier you start, the better. Look, I tell you what, why don't you just stand there and listen to the story, and you'll find out all about it. The founder was James Cameron, and he gathered together a small group of men and women, all interested in the relatively new process of creating moving pictures. They formed the Newcastle branch of the ACA, which had its first meeting in London in 1927. The main purpose of the new club was to make story films, following the example of early commercial filmmakers. They took their hobby very seriously, as can be seen in this clip from Bonadventure, their first major movie. Of course, not everyone was that serious. Many were more interested in the social life, and this is a club trip to Warkworth in 1931. The social scene was so important that the committee decided to award a silver cup to the parents of the first baby born after the foundation of the club. And here, in true "This Is Your Life" style, is that baby.
My earliest recollections as a child were probably when I was about 5 or 6 years old, because my father and mother were both very involved at that time, and this was before the war, with the Cine Club. Producing and acting in films together with my aunt. I remember Ross Smith and James Cameron quite vividly, even though I was probably a 5-6-year-old at the time. I remember seeing over the years, post-war, various films which they'd made and acted in. And I feel very honoured that and special that this cup was presented to me as being the first child.
Some baby, he's a bit older than me.
Well, not all of our activities were concerned with making story films. This is a documentary about Whitley Bay in 1937. And again in 1955.
My dad has a video camera. Why do you call them films?
Well, in the early days there wasn't any video.
No video? You must be joking. How did you record TV programmes?
When the club first started, we didn't have televisions either. As I was saying, we used cine cameras. which recorded moving pictures on film. Film stock was in different sizes. You could get 9.5mm, 16mm, 8mm, and then Super 8mm, which even had a soundtrack as well.
So everyone uses video now, do they?
Well, most of us do, but even video formats are changing all the time. The newest cameras record on digital tape, but there are still some people using film with cine cameras like these. And then over the years the club grew, moved from Bolbeck Hall to various premises, including Ship's Entry off the Cloth Market.
Have you still got all the old stuff? Not good now, is it?
Well, we've got lots of the old stuff, as you call it, and some television companies still use it. Some of it's very rare, valuable archive material, illustrating what life was really like in those days. Our drama films were popular with other clubs, and they could be hired. These brief clips give some idea of our output, which culminated in PC Grubb's last case, which won the prestigious 10 Best National Competition in 1953. We also occasionally made documentaries to order, such as this for the Tyneside Film Society anniversary.
With as many as 5 overlapping performances, you might well ask how we do it. To begin with, there's only one copy of each film, and as the spool runs out, the projection booth is the setting for a drama no less exciting than the drama on the screen. At the news theatre, having made sure he's switched over smoothly, the operator can now prepare the reel to be taken to the Tatler a quarter of a mile away. At the Tatler, they're already anxious. The performance there has begun. Back at the news theatre, the operation is well underway, its essence, efficiency and speed. The reel is rewound and ready to be handed over to the messenger who provides the shuttle service from one cinema to the other. Of course, we don't claim to have originated this idea. It used to be the practice of local cinema chains, particularly for transferring newsreels. At the Tatler, the projectionist wonders, as he wonders every Sunday, if the messenger will make it. But only once has he failed to get through on time, and that was in Festival of Britain year, 1951, when a military parade held up the traffic. At last the waiting is over, and the projectionist breathes again. In a matter of seconds, he'll have the reel laced up, ready to carry on the story as soon as the other projector runs out.
The Blaydon Races anniversary in 1962 was another example.
To make sure that everybody hears about it, the event is also being announced by a character who seems to think that he is Jackie Broon, the famous Blaydon bellman. Well over 100 have entered for this 6-mile race, and if the old Blaydon bus is looking for customers, I'm afraid it's come to the wrong place. I see, though, it's only doing trips round the town today. 99 runners have actually come under starters' orders, the starter being the Lord Mayor of Newcastle, Alderman George Jacobson. He has the support of the Queen of the celebrations, Sheila MacFarlane. They are both officiating at their first centenary event. A little instruction in starting from race organizer Dewing. The cameramen get ready, and they're off. Away they go along Prado Street. That's on the way to Blaydon today, even if it doesn't fit the music quite as well as the original words. And then they come down Percy Street, cross over into Newgate Street, then by way of Clayton Street to Scotswood Road and the more traditional route to their destination.
We were invited to make various films for St Andrews Motors. Now, you won't know this, but in the mid-60s there was a company in Gallowgate specialising in the sale of motorcycles, and they sponsored motorcycle events, which we were asked to film.
But Joe Carr of Consett is managing without any dabs, safely over the big stone and away around the... Oh, he had to put his foot down there, but I think that was between sections just to help him on into the next one. Who's this now coming on? That's striking headgear. Oh, Wheatley, and he's going up the bank to avoid Mr. Thompson's biggest boulder. Well, at least he thought he was. Now he's really come to grief. All he can do is get out the best way he can. Anyhow, he gets out of the final section without further penalty, and has that consolation as he makes his way back to the roadway. Now it's Bill Myers from Gateshead. He's going through quite nicely. 1 foot, 1 point there, 1 dab, and on he goes, making for the road in his turn. What's funny, they all seem to have to put their foot down there. It looks quite harmless, but nearly everyone's put a foot down there. Now coming out onto the roadway...
Back in the 50s and 60s, there was more interesting clubs formed by people with common hobbies like motorcycling and filmmaking. The ACA had its own magazine, reporting on all aspects of club activities and social life. Linda Goff talks to Jack Wrightson and Leslie Greaves at one of the many social events.
Now we lost it. You're the one where you had the artificial ship front in front of the camera. What was its name?
Yes,
I haven't thought of it for years. Well, anyway, there wasn't very many ships in it, so I put quite a few ships in the title, which sort of give the atmosphere. That was suggested it. Otherwise, generally speaking, the film subject suggested
the house in Dockery Square.
House in Dockery Square.
That's right. Well done.
And continuing down this memory lane, filmmaker Jim Madden reminisces with our late President George Cumming near our 1960s premises in Ship's Entry.
Last year.
It would be 60 years last year, and you're president now.
That's right, yes.
Quite an honour.
Oh, indeed, yes. I'm very pleased. Mr. Cameron was the first president, and he was very important when I first came. Of course, he was, at the top, and I was at the bottom.
And he was there in 1927.
Yes, he was there from the very beginning. And I first met him at the first club room that was over the road here at Bolbeck Hall. This is the 4th place we came to. There was Bolbeck Hall and Leeds Terrace. That took us up to the war. After the war, there was Levine Place, and then from Levine Place we came down here, and we stayed here about 68, I think, offhand. I haven't known.
But the senior members of the club speak of this place with great nostalgia and great love for all the marvellous things that happened here, don't they?
Yes, well, it was very good. I mean, the fact we had our own place, and you could leave it, you could set things up and leave them, till next week sort of thing, and you didn't have to put everything away every night.
Yes, and I've seen pictures of where the cinema was set out with the, the seating and the curtains.
1960? That's boring. It's too long ago.
Boring? I'll have you know it's not that long. Well, I mean, it is before you were born.
Before I was born, it was before my dad was born.
Well, this is a history film, you know.
God's wounds! That could cost him his head.
Club members enjoy themselves both in front and behind the camera, like this mime night.
Good evening. In my never-ending search to bring you the exotic and the bizarre, I have travelled many, many miles. But tonight's little soiree could prove to be something very special. This looks like it. Now in here, rumour has it, we should find a very strange group performing even stranger rituals.
See, what is...
Richard.
Well, hi Richard. My name's Michael, by the way. You see, our club members get involved in all kinds of aspects of making movies.
Do you just plug into the telly and show what's on the tape?
Well, it's not quite that easy.
Can't be that difficult.
Okay, clever clogs, would you like to see if you can end this film with your vast experience of what, 15 minutes?
That's all.
No, they want to see you doing it. Go on, give it a try.
That's the end, folks. This is Richard Elwood for ACA News, the Quayside, Newcastle upon Tyne.
That was very professional, but we need to include a bit about the club. What I was going to say was, that brings us up to date, and we still make movies, and we still meet on Tuesdays. You give it a try. We still make movies, and we still meet on Tuesdays. Hey, that was very good. I'll tell you what, do you fancy a burger?
Cool.
Look, and if you get your dad to lend you his camera, you could bring it along to the club on Tuesdays and join in. In fact, you could write a story, an adventure story with some of your mates in, and get them involved, put it in the competition, get a certificate, get a silver cup, get everything.